Last season, Swansea escaped relegation after Paul Clement arrived, and the team, and Gauffin in particular, rallied under the new boss's stewardship to claw the Swans away from the drop zone. The Swans faced 185 shots on target last season, the 7th worst in the league. This season, after 5 games, Swansea are actually doing worse, but managed an excellent 0-0 away draw at Spurs despite conceding a large number of shots. So, how did Swansea do it? Clement's side lined up effectively as a 5-3-1-1, with Jordan Ayew nominally behind Tammy Abraham, but in actual fact often breaking forwards of the striker, whose aerial ability was Swansea's long ball get-out. Spurs played as a 3-4-1-2, but with Dele Alli dropping back to assist Eriksson and both wide men pushing up. Spurs clustered a lot around the right half space as Harry Kane, who has a tendency to drift wide before cutting back in, moved towards the same areas as Alli and Eriksson. Swansea, who had a spare man or two at the back, could, if required, push up Mike van der Hoorn into this space and in support of the midfield three of Renato Sanchez, Sam Clucas and Tom Carroll. Clucas and Sanchez, both very astute summer signings, can screen energetically, and Sanchez especially dropped off into the horizontal gaps between Spurs' midfield and forward line to press or mark. This meant that Swansea's midfield three could play very narrowly, as Spurs also congregated in the centre, while the back five could drop off into a wide line. Spurs wingbacks always push high, and by leaving fullbacks fairly deep, Swansea could mark the Spurs wide men but keep a narrow line higher up the pitch to flood the number 10 space and the area behind it. The midfield three moved sideways as a unit, covering across to match Spurs' switching of the play left and right, while the Swansea fullback pushed up a little when Spurs had possession wide around the box. The Swansea defence were otherwise fairly fixed in position, with 3 men in front of goal, the other fullback tucked in somewhat, but with an eye on the switch of play, and the midfield three would try to cut off passing lanes back inside rather than pushing to press. This allowed Swansea to invite the cross, knowing that they had at least a one-man advantage in the box while cutting off the chance to pass back inside. Sometimes the Swansea midfielder nearest the ball would drift out, but the other two were good at initially holding their position and then tracking runs. This meant that Swansea were often defending their box with as many as 6 players in the middle and 2 wide, but as Spurs looked to cross to players making late runs, Swansea were able either to track those runs or, better yet, have defenders looking at the players making them rather than being caught on the back foot. It's also worth noting though that for all Swansea's excellence in defensive organisation, the goalkeeping of Lucas Fabianski did dig them out of a hole or two as well. Last season, despite losing at home 2-0 and drawing 1-1 away, Burnley also defended well against Spurs. Burnley played 2 narrow lines of 4, compacting the space into which Spurs midfield could run and congesting the centre of the pitch. This, and Swansea's performance at Wembley, show that for all their undoubted attacking ability, Spurs can be frustrated by teams who deny them space in between the lines, particularly in the half spaces. This is where Spurs' ability to link quick passing moves and burst beyond the defensive line is evident. It's what Dele Alli especially excels at. By contracting the space between the defensive and midfield lines and owning the central space, teams can frustrate Spurs. Here's a selection of Swansea City's stats so far from the OneFootball app with whom we made this video in partnership. If you'd like to have a look at the app yourself or download it, there is a link in the description. Thanks very much for watching.